Welcome in everyone to Girl, how'd you get that gig for my partners? I know it's so great for my partner Celeste Gehring. I am Amy G, and today's guest, well, it's one of the most upbeat people that I have had the pleasure of meeting. So it's no surprise to find out she's actually the director of community engagement for Positive Coaching Alliance, where she helps create equity in youth sports, empowers communities, and promotes inclusion. So think social justice meets sports. It's awesome. Please welcome in Khail Blackmon-Newton. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's so good to see you again. And I'm just so happy you asked me. Thank you so much.
Oh,
We,
slam dunk. Yeah, we knew
yeah.
immediately. I'm like, I got somebody for the podcast, Celeste.
Perfect.
Yeah, Amy has just been raving about you, and we
Yeah.
just love to talk about positive things. So let's get into it. Tell us what is involved with being the director of community engagement, and what's a typical day like for you?
Yes. I'm charged with leading, but I like to say serving our Oakland Sport Equity Coalition and our San Francisco Sport Equity Coalition. And we are a group of stakeholders that have gone together to talk about why our kids don't have access to sport in these cities and what we as a community want to do about it. So PCA is really like the backbone of the coalition, the convener, bringing people together to the table to have these conversations, but it's super community led, and it's super interesting to see like what cities think is their gaps and like how they want to fill them and attack those gaps.
So I love that, Positive Coaching Alliance is about creating equity and inclusiveness. And those are two words really important to Celeste and I, especially in our podcast. Will you paint a picture of the inequities that you're seeing in your neighborhood, and how does Positive Coaching Alliance use sports to bridge that gap?
Yeah, that's a great question. The Aspen Institute did a state of play report on Oakland a few years ago, and they found that only 14% of our youth are getting the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity a day. And that kind of stat is really what has driven us this far. And out of that 14%, only 9% of girls. So only 9% of girls in Oakland are getting the recommended 60 minutes of physical activity a day. So we're like, why is that? And how can we get girls moving, and not just organized sport, but physical activity in general? Because there's so many, I mean, I don't have to tell y'all, but there's so many avenues, career paths that come with playing sport. I think it's like 90% of C-suite women employees played sports, a team sport in their lifetime. But just like the life outcomes and health outcomes
Mhm.
that come with being physically active are just so important. And we want our kids to be able to reap those benefits.
I love that. And I just want to add too, like, you do need to tell us, like, people, you can't stop saying it enough, the benefits of physical movement. And I say that instead of sports, just because I think people tend to think that we're not being inclusive when we say sport, and it's about movement and physical movement and what that does for your body and for your confidence, especially if you're a girl. So you can't say it enough, Kelly. Keep
Absolutely.
keep
You're right. You're
telling us the
right.
stats. Yeah.
Keep screaming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit as to where you grew up, where you're from, and how you
Mhm.
got introduced to physical activity, sports. Did you play? Were you a fan? Like, what's that whole story like about you?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm from the South Bay, so San Jose area. And I did play sports. Yes. I did play sports growing up, and I think I was raised by a single mom, and she's amazing. But sports was never really her thing. So I looking back now, I kind of realized that maybe she didn't know like which sports to put me in, or there were so many options she, wasn't sure. But I played basketball growing up. My dad, he played for the Jets. So I was
Oh,
like, I
wow.
feel like maybe that's where I got my athleticism. My mom will say it's not from her, so I feel comfortable saying that. Um, but I grew back. I played basketball growing up, and then um, I would say my eighth grade year, I kind of moved into a new school in a new area, and I was just very like uncomfortable like with my body. I feel
Mm.
like I was kind of like one of a handful of minority students at my school, and just growing in like how it feels to be a woman growing up, so like all of the things. So I
Mhm.
actually didn't play my first 2 years in high school because I was just kind of like it's not for me, you know?
Right.
And
Right.
then I one of my friends was just like, just come and try and play. I know you can play, so just come and try. And I did, and I just fell back in love with it. And I played my junior year, my senior year, and then in junior college, I went to De Anza College and played some basketball there. So,
Way to go. Way to
and oh,
go.
thank you so much.
That's
Yeah.
Thank you.
awesome. I
And
mean, there's
there's
such a great story within that about not playing your first 2 years in
Mhm.
high school and finding you know, the passion and the perseverance to get past whatever your insecurities were and get out there and try it and look at what happened, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I, gained so many friends, lifelong friends from making that choice, and grew grew in my confidence in a way I didn't think that I was going to. So yeah, super, super blessed. And then um now I coach middle school basketball, boys and girls, and hopefully making that difference like my friend did for me, that like, it's cool to play, it's cool to try, it's cool to, make an effort in these different arenas.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, nothing unifies us like sports. And I know, like, we talked about your high school piece, but in college you went to Sacramento State. Why did you choose that school, and what was your major there?
Great question. So it was actually sociology, because I didn't know. Yeah, we were just talking about that. I
We
didn't
were.
know what I wanted to do. Um And honestly, I thought like I'm not a good student. I thought I was not a good student. I thought I didn't enjoy school until I got to Sac State and and got into my major and started to look at the study of people, look how people move together, look how communities come together, and how the system really affects people.
Hmm.
So I think unknowingly then, but that was kind of like my journey into where I am now. Um, and I chose Sac State because that they wanted me. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm gone, and it's, far enough away from home that someone has to
Yeah.
call first, but not too far that I can't always come visit.
Isn't that the truth?
Yeah.
I know. I went to Davis, so I
Mm.
don't think we knew that about each other. We're a little bit rivals over
Right,
here.
yeah,
That's
Causeway.
okay. Yeah. But when I left for school, my parents were like, "Okay, so real quick, you don't show up on our doorstep unannounced, and we won't show up on yours unannounced." So it was that whole like, we're gonna give each other a quick call, but it was an
Yeah, some
hour and
space.
15 minutes to home. Yeah, for sure. I'm actually curious. Shocker, Celeste. I'm going off script. Uh,
Always.
I know, I'm terrible. And I'm so fascinated by what you just said about feeling like you weren't a good student,
Mm.
and yet you still pursued college. And I feel like there's kind of this maybe unspoken uh, stigma around not going to school and then going to school. Like people who didn't go to school feel like people who went to school think they're better than them. And then like realizing that for some people, school's not the answer, right? Like it's about getting right into the workforce or whatever. So did you feel like you got exposed to college because of basketball at De Anza? And that was there somebody who said to you, go on to a 4 year, you should do this? Or what was your impetus to continue with college if you felt like you weren't a good student? And then, you mentioned like you realized you actually were once you were studying something that you enjoyed, which is the whole point, right? Like, keep telling my daughter, we talked about her before the show started, just choose something that interests you. Read what these majors are about, and that's the key in all of our interviews. Don't you think, Celeste? Is like people were following what they were interested in and passionate about, may not have anything to do with what you end up doing later,
Yeah.
but you sure enjoyed yourself. So very long-winded question, but what was that kind of turning point for you where you decided to pursue college even though you didn't feel like you were a great student?
Yeah, I think that like my time at De Anza, while super fun, like I kind of got to my last 2 years of playing and was kind of realized that I was actually in classes so that I could pass, and I wasn't in any classes to transfer. So after
Gotcha.
I played 2 years, I had another 2 years of classes that I had to like make up and
Right.
pursue. And I think it would have been easy and understandable, I guess, to like quit at that point. Um, but I think I don't know how else to say this besides like I just don't have any quit in me. Like I just,
That's perfect.
I
Mhm.
want
Wanted to finish it.
yeah, I wanted to finish it. I wanted to prove to myself that, I this is kind of where I belong. And I knew there was something out there for me that was bigger. And I think a lot of people these days like study trends and look at like what's going to be my, where am I going to make the most money? Where, instead of letting their why and their passion kind of drive them. And I stumbled into it. I like, like I didn't know that I was going to love sociology and kind of that pathway. But I think as long as, like to your point, you're following your passion, you find something that you really like,
Hmm.
the money will come. And like
Hmm.
you can convince anybody that your degree is beneficial to to what they're looking for. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like,
Totally. It's like
yeah,
statistics. You can like bend them any way you need to prove your
exactly.
point.
To tell
Yeah.
the story. Yeah,
Hmm.
100%.
I love that. I love
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and we always talk in our episodes about internships
Mhm.
and, how important they are. Did you have time or were you able to do any internships? And how were they helpful and how did they pay the path forward if you did?
Yeah, so that's actually how I came to be with PCA.
that.
A couple years ago, we merged. We were coaching core. I was with coaching core and PCA, and we merged together a few years ago. But before that, uh, I was walking through a career fair at Sac State, and someone stopped me, and they had our kind of tactics back then were like to toss something to somebody so they would catch it and then they have to come talk to you. So I think that's how they got me. And they were like they're they were like do you like sports? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, do you like kids? I was like, I don't know, like
Sure.
I'm a child,
I'm
and
on the fence on
I'm
that
on the
one.
fence on that one. But they're like, well, why don't you try, like why don't you sign up and start coaching? And so I coached a season of t-ball, and then I coached a season of flag football, and then I started a chapter of PCA on campus. So I was the first president of
Oh,
the
wow.
PCA chapter on campus at Sac State. And I recruited other coaches, recruited other students to our club, and turn them into coaches as well. So that was kind of like an internship and
Yeah.
something that I decided that I was passionate about. Um,
Pretty vital moment in your
yeah,
life. Pivotal for sure. Yeah. And God
100%.
bless your heart that you coached T-ball to start and you're still there. Because
Yeah, that's
I
rough.
think that ends a lot of coaching careers,
Oh, I'm sure.
especially when
I'm
you're
sure.
coaching 5-year-old boys who are like picking flowers out in
Daisies.
left field.
Yeah,
I have one of those right there. Wasn't his thing. Never was his thing.
that's
So we
funny.
also, as we tell your story and your path, we love to know, and it sounds like we already know, but we'll
Mhm.
ask the question anyway. Your first paying gig. So was it with Positive Coaching Alliance
It was
out of college?
It was not.
Okay.
So I moved from from Sacramento back home because I was like, that's the plan. I'm gonna graduate and I'm gonna move back home, and it's just never what you think it's gonna be.
Right.
So I found my way back to Sacramento, and I actually did 2 years of service with AmeriCorps at a North Sacramento Family Resource Center, which is like a subsect of SAC Children's Home, kind
Mhm.
of doing like crisis intervention work and work with families and things like that. And then when my 2 years of service were up, I thought about coaching or Positive Coaching Alliance and the mission and what I cared about. And I care about sports, I care about kids, I care about families. And I luckily they had a spot for me, and it was like a total full circle moment. And at this point, it was like almost 6 years ago to the day,
Wow.
my hire date. So that was like probably my first real paying gig because AmeriCorps, is for service.
Service, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you feel you learned things in your time with AmeriCorps that helped you in your position with Positive Coaching Alliance? Was there,
Mhm. Oh
a
yeah.
connection there? What did you feel you learned there that helped you with your job?
Yeah, I think like outside of I mean, they have a great curriculum. You get like over 200 hours of professional development with AmeriCorps. So like, but even outside of that, like working together, working in a community, starting to understand systems and like how people in power who make decisions, how that trickles down and affects everyday families.
Mhm.
And then also we worked with a lot of families that were recent immigrants and coming over and needed resources, and was able to point them in the right direction. So I think just it just really opened my heart
Mm.
to be like of service to folks. And I think that's also a testament, and I'll shout her out because she's going to be so happy, to my grandmother.
Oh,
She yes,
hi,
she did
Grandma.
Like a
yes,
mom.
oh my God, she's gonna
We
be so
love
happy.
grandmas.
We love grandmas here. She worked at Red Cross for years and years and years and did Youth for Understanding, which is like a uh what's the word? Where people, they're gonna kill me.
Grandma's
Like
gonna kill you.
grandma's gonna kill me. It's
Grandma.
foreign exchange student
There
program.
you go.
Foreign
Okay.
exchange student
You
program.
got grandma's good.
Yeah,
Grandma's
grandma,
good.
don't worry, grandma. I got it. I
You
got
got
it.
it, girl. You got it.
Yes, exactly. And worked with a lot of with foreign exchange students, and she gave me this book kind of early on called The Heart of a Volunteer, and it's still on my desk to this day. And so I think just having that it kind of in my back pocket and having her in my ear and my mom in my ear, who are very service oriented people, is really what kind of set me on this path. Again, unknowingly at the time, but looking back, just having my heart open to service, I think, service of others, is what has led me here to this gig.
Yeah, and with such that, big heart that you have, what is the most rewarding part of the work that you do now, and what is the most challenging?
Mm.
Good question. I think the most rewarding part is, even though like I don't do direct service, in my role specifically, I work with a lot of partners who do direct service, and I through my work I get to see them kind of like flip that switch to where a lot of our partners, like before they start working with us, or in general, like we're all kind of like working in silos, right? And so our job is to bring people together and open up our hearts to be able to feel like we all could have a piece of this pie. Like we don't have to fight each other for the pie. We don't have to fight each other for kids or for money or for grants. Like our whole idea is that it's not just PCA knocking on a mayor's door, right? It's PCA, it's Oakland Strokes, it's the YMCA, it's all of these folks moving together, and in coordination and collective action. And I think that's the most rewarding part, is like seeing them work together. Like Oakland Strokes, First Tee Oakland and Girls Inc. just did an all girls sports summer camp the last 2 weeks. And that connection was born out of the coalition and born out of being able to make connections with folks. So I think that's the most rewarding. um I think sometimes the most challenging could be kind of like how much we have to go, because when we're talking about systems change work, like it's not like a 2 year, 3 year commitment. Like, we're talking like 5-10 years to make real systemic change. And
Mhm.
I tell the folks in our coalition, like some of this stuff might not even be um decided or fixed in our lifetime, but we're paving the way and making the steps for the folks to come up behind us and keep working and finish the work.
I have so many different things floating through my head right now. I just think you're like one of the most incredible human beings, and I
Oh my
like to
gosh.
literally like listen to you get like you were called to serve.
Hmm.
Like you know what I mean? Like, and not many people get their calling and figure out their calling, and then they're able to live out their calling.
Totally.
One thing I just want to say regarding service is if anybody thinks that, I think a lot of people put coaches in a different category, especially if, they're coaching for the NFL and the NBA and they make gazillion dollars. Like
Hmm.
coaching at the most basic community level is arguably like one of the most difficult and selfless jobs anybody could do. It's the ultimate service, right? You're literally guiding people's children.
Right.
But what you said about change and systemic change taking a really long time is something I think we're in this generation of immediacy with our kids.
Yeah.
And they're not wrapping their head around what is going to take how long? It's going to take what? How many people? And yet, the ironic part is we're living in a time, not to get too political, but with an administration that's changing things overnight, like reversing things overnight, right? So we're just in this really bizarre time period. And I don't know how you feel, Khali. I can speak for myself as a mom of two. These teenagers that I'm living with, that I teach at Sonoma State, Celeste teaches at USF. Like, we're seeing a loneliness that they're feeling, that they're left out, that they feel their votes don't matter, their voices don't matter. What are you seeing in that realm? And what do you wish people knew about building community and how community helps alleviate that loneliness?
Those are all great points. And I mean, I think you touched on it. Like, well, first of all, us as adults and for sure, kids with access to the internet, like, are being bombarded with news cycle 24/7. So like it's easy and understandable to feel overwhelmed and helpless at times, thinking my voice doesn't matter, my vote doesn't matter. But I think I would tell folks that feel that way to kind of like start small, like invite a friend to lunch and share how you're feeling. And it's okay to be vulnerable and open. And, if that person isn't like, doesn't vibe with what you're vibing with, then like, we'll find a new friend to have lunch with and be vulnerable with them and tell them how you're feeling. And then, you two have lunch with two other people. And before you know it, like you have a basketball team or like a
community.
club
Yeah.
frisbee team or a community,
Yeah.
a hula hoop team in the quad or something, whatever it is. So yeah, I would just say, when you feel helpless, you feel alone, to start small and just invite someone to lunch.
That is phenomenal advice, and like
Mhm.
crosses so many boards. Like, I always say that too about politics. Like, I feel often I can't do a lot nationally, but I can certainly do something in my own city.
Absolutely.
Where I live, I can make an impact by voting, by participating, all of that. So starting small, that's like some of the best advice that I've ever heard on this show, actually.
Oh my gosh, that's so kind.
Boom.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah. Just like
Khali for the win.
yes, amen.
Yes.
And like the interns that have come in through COSM, and for example, my nephew and other young people that I'm around, a lot of it too is, they have to be so polished with social media. And they feel like, okay, when I meet that person and have that lunch, maybe I'm not that perfect person or I don't have all of that. And, I love what you're saying though about just doing lunch and being open and have a conversation because we don't have to be perfect, right? Like social media
Yeah.
definitely shows one side of people's lives. And
100%.
so if we're
Yeah.
real with each other, that's where community really starts.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's a great
You get to
point.
drop the filter when you're in
Yeah.
person.
Yeah.
Yes. And that's my
Yeah.
that's my favorite part. Like when people do drop that filter and they're just like, you know what, I'm feeling bad today. Or even when I'm coaching, we always start with a check-in or with thumbs up, thumbs in the middle, thumbs down. And, if a kid is thumbs down, I'll go up to them and say, you don't have to tell me what's going on, but I noticed your thumbs down. Like, what can we do today to move the needle just a little bit? Maybe it doesn't go from a thumbs down to all the way to a thumbs up, but while you're here for these 2 hours, like, I want you to feel good. And then we can worry about the other stuff after we leave.
Mm.
What do you do, Khali, when you don't, you got a thumbs down day? Like, so many years on the Giants broadcast, if I had a thumbs down day, it didn't matter. I had to go, I had to perform, I had to put my smile on. Nobody cared.
Yeah.
Nobody, they wanted to see the same type of person I was every single night on the broadcast. And 90% of the time, I felt good. but there are days that I didn't feel good or
Yeah.
literally physically didn't feel good or was just going through stuff. And I had a community on my team, my camera operators, that
Mm.
I'll name them, Mike, and Sam are guys. I mean, they were my
Shout out.
guys. Shout out. So what do you do when you're not feeling it and you've got kids that you have to mold and, be a mentor to and be an example for?
Hmm. I think that first of all, that's exhausting. And I'm sorry that, you had to keep on
Just
that filter, but
13 years. It's fine.
it's fine. It's
It's fine.
fine. No big
I'm
deal.
fine.
Yeah, everything's fine. Here. Um, no, I think that one, obviously, like what drives me is service. And, once I sign up to coach, like that's what I am planning to do. And I always feel like when I'm having that thumbs down day and I don't want to go, right? But I find when practice is over, I also feel better. Like my needle has also moved because my cup is filling up, so to speak. So
Mhm.
I think that. And then I also think for coaches, like it's okay to be transparent with your kids. Like
Mhm.
when you're asking for a check-in, like I'm also giving my check-in.
Mhm.
And I'm like, guys, I'm low energy today. I'm sick. I'm, dealing with stuff at home. I'm this, I'm that. And I think especially for the girls, like letting them know that it's okay to tell your community how you're feeling.
Mhm.
So I just try to keep those things in mind. Um, wear my heart on my sleeve and just try to make the best experience possible for them because then I get the best experience possible.
Mhm. And you touched on this at the beginning of the podcast, and it's so alarming to me about how many young girls are dropping out of sport based on
Mhm.
body.
Yeah.
And can you talk a little bit more about that? I mean, I just feel like we talk about it, but is the needle moving at all? Like I know you are helping trying to make that happen, but like how do we all help with that piece? How do we create more inclusion, especially for young girls to feel good about themselves and to continue to play?
Yeah, I think it all starts with like early access. It's just so interesting once you kind of dig deep into like the systems, right? Like in a boy's crib, like we might put a basketball or football, or they have a football above their crib or their bed, and um, but for girls, it's not really like that. And then when they
So
get into
true.
elementary school, if there's not a place for them to play, they won't. And then when you get into middle school, that's when, your body starts to change and you feel
Mhm.
uncomfortable and all these eyes are on you, especially with social media now. Like and then if you don't play in middle school, odds are you're not going to try out for a brand new team in high school. So I think early access is really important.
Mhm.
As a parent, making sure that your girls are having the same opportunities that the boys are to playing. We're putting our boys in soccer, let's put our girls in soccer, let's put them in dance, let's put them in cheer, let's put them in basketball, let's put them in football. Now girls flag football is a CIF sport. So
I
there's
love
so many
that.
opportunities for girls to play. So um, and I think a lot of the narrative has been that girls don't want to play or we don't have programs because we've tried to have programs and girls don't show up. And it takes dedicated outreach.
Mhm.
You can't just put a flyer on the board or something up on Parent Square. And girls will show up like boys do. Like it has to be very intentional outreach.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I would say early access, intentional outreach, and then once they're there, creating like just a really great experience for them that even if they don't continue in basketball, say, they're like, but I like to move my body and I like to dance and I like music, so let me go out for cheer,
Yep.
wherever the case may be. So just really creating a good experience around surrounding physical activity.
And I
Yeah.
have one quick follow-up for that. So are you seeing a swing though, now that there is so much emphasis on like the WNBA and we are seeing women's sports really move the needle?
Mhm.
Are we seeing a
Mhm.
shift at all yet, or is it just too soon for that?
I think it's a little bit too soon for that, but you can see the shift in like uh in the social conversation for
Mhm.
sure.
Mhm.
And I think as teams start to realize that there's power in girls sports that girls want to play and in some cases there's money in youth sports they know, but for girls specifically, those opportunities are going to come back around. I think the Valkyries, they do a great job in community engagement and engaging girls and showing up. And I think other professional teams are like, that should be the model of how you engage a community. I think they do a fantastic job. So I'm fully anticipating that in Oakland and San Francisco and all over the Bay Area, that girls are going to play more, kids are going to play more. And now with like the Super Bowl coming and the World Cup coming, and there's going to be so many opportunities. Like, it's important for the adults to really seize this opportunity to make sure that our kids are playing sports or are physically active.
You are so spot on too about, with big events coming to the area. Because I remember the Olympics coming to LA in '84, and Mary Lou Retton was my girl, man. Like, it was so exciting that it was in our state. It wasn't even close to me, but it was in the United States, and it was in our state, right? And so you paid a lot of attention in those young years. Those formative years are so important, who sticks with you. But what I recall being young, Mary Lou Retton was probably one of my first female role models that I followed. Men, like, I loved Will Clark and I loved Dave Stewart, because that's who we had to look at. But think about the kids today who are 9 years old, who they're able to look at in the Bay Area, whether it's a Bay FC soccer player or the Valkyries. So you're having this shift for the younger ones now, be able to see so many different role models and different genders. But then my dad tells me yesterday, no kidding, I love that you brought up the Valkyries. He golfs like every week with the same guys. And it was a guy that he golfs with. My dad's 75. We're just so glad that we have season tickets to the Valkyries. This was like his golf buddy. And my dad made a point to tell me about it. Like, that, people are getting season tickets to women's sports. Like, it's an event that they want to be a part of. Yes. And so to have that bookend of age groups be supportive and interested, I think you're going to see a huge shift. And I love getting commentary like that, because you're like, the progress is slow, but it's happening. Okay, I know we gotta wrap up, because you have to go like mold young lives, but we got two more for you. I just want you to let people know, if they are interested in any way, shape, or form in helping with Positive Coaching Alliance, how they can get involved, because I know you rely heavily on volunteers. So what's the plug?
Yes, absolutely. I would say if you're in the San Francisco area or in the Oakland area or the San Diego area, we have coalitions in all of those cities. So if you're interested in kind of like being a part of the sports equity movement, that's something that sounds interesting to you, definitely feel free to shoot me an email. We're always looking for more like perspectives and opinions in our groups, because we want it to be inclusive. If you're interested in becoming a coach, you can go to positivecoach.org/become a coach. It has all that information on there. We're constantly recruiting all over the country, but really in those three cities and throughout the state of California. We're recruiting coaches and connecting them with programs that need coaches to add more programs or to just run their programs, period. So I would say those are my two plugs. And then also like find somebody to be physically active with, and or get lunch with, and be vulnerable and open up your heart.
Yeah. A lunch buddy.
A lunch buddy.
I love it. I love it. So if you gave so much good advice this whole entire session. But if you had to pick one thing, Khali, just one thing for the best piece of advice that you've been given or you want to give, and you use this in your daily life, what would it be?
I gotta make it a good one, but it's one that I think
Grandma's listening.
Yes,
I know.
Grandma's listening. And I hopefully should be proud of this one. And I've said it throughout this podcast, but I think right now, like, we're kind of living in a time where it's we're hyper individualistic, right? We want to hold on to our piece of whatever we have because it feels like things are going to be ripped from us. But I implore people to look outward as well. Find your community, be in service of others, however that looks like for you. join a giving group on Facebook. And, if a mom needs a ride or a kid needs help with a craft or whatever the case may be, like, just find a way to be in service of others. And I promise you that it will fill your cup and it'll make your life better by making others' lives better.
Wow.
Amazing.
I nailed it on this guest,
You
Celeste.
did. Oh my gosh.
Nailed
Amazing.
gosh.
Amazing.
I
That's
met
so kind.
Khali because we worked on a mental health panel for the Giants together.
Yes.
And I called Celeste after I met you and I was like, we've got to get her on. We've
Oh
got to
my
get her
God.
on. So you are an amazing human being. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
agreeing to do this and
Of
letting
course.
our whopping 300 followers listen to you.
Hey,
And growing.
Hopefully, and
and
growing,
growing and
and growing.
growing.
But, we hope at some point it becomes 30,000 followers to hear this interview. I mean, it's just everything you say is so impactful and you're doing amazing work. And I don't know if you hear it often enough. I hope you do, but we're big fans already. So we're just so excited that you exist and that you're doing what you do. So thank you.
Well,
Yes.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much
Yeah.
for having me and for the kind words. And, even to the 300 followers, we're making moves.
We're very proud of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. I'm glad I
Yeah.
could be a small part of it. And I'm just super, super proud to have done this and super happy that y'all invited me. So thank you so much.
I mean, Khail Blackmon-Newton. Oh, mind blown.
Mind blown. Unbelievable. Amy, you amazing. Amazing. Great guest. Great guest.
If you're only listening, I am patting myself on the back. Yeah, that was good. Well, and I mean, anybody who listens to her immediately, you're drawn to her.
Yeah.
She just has this energy that pulls you in, and I don't think she could have said more important things. It's just
I-
really things that I personally need to hear right now. So,
yeah. I'm inviting you to lunch tomorrow,
yeah.
Amy.
Oh, yay!
Seriously, I need lunch.
Let's have lunch. Everybody has to have lunch. All
Yeah.
right. Well, Khail, thank you so much for joining us. The work you're doing is so important and so needed. Okay. So switching gears as we wrap up, if you want to win some cool stuff, we have you covered.
Mhm.
All you have to do is one, follow us on Instagram. The handle's at Girl Gig Podcast. And two, subscribe to Girl, How'd You Get That Gig on YouTube. It's free, so there's no reason why you're not subscribed. And you will be automatically entered to win once you follow and subscribe one of our giveaways. And it's every 2 weeks that we do it.
Yeah, we're gonna announce our next winner soon on Instagram. So
Mhm.
again, that handle is at Girl Gig Podcast.
Get over there and follow and
Yeah.
subscribe.
Follow
All right.
us.
For my dear friend Celeste Gehring, I am Amy G. Until next time, go get that gig.